Today we're looking at the swing of Bryson DeChambeau from the face-on view. I'm going to be analyzing 5 important aspects of Bryson's swing, talk a little bit about what's giving him this tremendous power that he's been displaying as he won the recent PGA Tour event, the Rocket Mortgage. Many of you know I've been teaching a single-plane golf swing for almost 25 years now, starting with the Mo Norman swing. It's kind of morphed into what I call setup for impact. Bryson's actually a subscriber here of my YouTube channel, and he uses some of my terminology saying he tries to set up for impact just to simplify his golf swing. And so it's my view that anybody can simplify their motion, and it's not as complicated as people make it out to be. Do me a huge favor and subscribe here to my channel and click the bell for notifications. Also give me a thumbs up for this video. It really helps my channel grow a lot. So getting into Bryson's swing, and the first thing we're going to look at, which I really think is fascinating, is the first thing I noticed since the PGA Tour started up again, is the backswing speed. If you look at how fast he takes the club away, it's really quite amazing. So you see, here's the setup angle, and if you watch him take the club, you can see how the grip is moving back, and then you're going to see the club start to move. You see the shaft is actually bent. If I go straight down from his grip, you can see the shaft is actually bent. That's how fast he's taking it back. Look at it. It looks like it's a noodle. You can see, again, if I go right up through his grip of his left hand, you can see how much bend there is to the shaft. So that's how fast he's taking it back. And now, you know, you're told to take it back slow, or people always say I'm too fast. Well, actually, the top players, they're really fast in the backswing. That's actually a trick for actually gaining clubhead speed, is to actually speed up the backswing. You can also notice that Bryson, if you draw a line here, left arm and club shaft, it's in alignment. And you're going to see as he goes back, you can see nothing's changing here. And he continues back. Really, a little bit is camera angle here, but I would say there's barely an angle. The shaft is like right in here. There's barely an angle. I think it's just perspective from the camera and the fact that the club's behind him. And I think the club is actually going to start cocking a little bit here. And what's interesting is the announcers and a lot of the people analyzing the videos are talking about how Bryson doesn't cock his wrist. But I want you to watch this as he gets at the top. You be the judge. Are his wrists cocked or not? I mean, you can draw a line here, and you can see there's an angle between the club and his left arm. It's not 90 degrees, but if you consider that Bryson holds the club, if you consider that Bryson holds the grip in the lifeline of his leading hand, that obviously restricts the amount of angle that he can create there. And so from there, so it's really interesting. This is, again, the speed of the backswing is one thing, and as I said, I'm going to talk about 5 aspects here going through this, but you can see the speed of the backswing and then how late the wrist cocking happens. So I find that's really interesting. And if we go to another aspect, is how his hips and his spine stay in position. You can see how his hip doesn't go over, it doesn't cross the line that's set up on here, the yellow line there, it just turns in. For my subscribers and members of my website, the people sending me videos for review, one of the top things I see is people moving their hips laterally on the backswing. You won't see a great player do that, and you see Bryson's no exception, how he turns in there. You notice the spine, his spine staying very close to in the same position throughout the swing. And this is really an important aspect for people who want to simplify their golf swing. You want to really see that the hips are going to stay in the same space. And now as he swings through, so you can see I put a line on the left hip as well, and you can see really how he just stays in that space throughout the swing. And even into impact, you can see the top of his hip is really, you can see how his hips really stay very close to in that space. And so the spine angle is also staying in close to the same position then throughout. Another important part that I look at is the transition. And looking at when we talk about transition, we're just talking about when are the hips and body going to reverse the direction of rotation. And so if you look at here, his hands and club are still moving back, as I talked about in the parts before, how fast he's swinging back. And that's giving him the momentum here. So as the arms are still moving back, the body stopped turning here, and it's starting to reverse. So if I'm looking at his legs, and you can look at his right and left legs, you see how that left knee leads out. And so he's starting there. You see some changing in the right leg as well, and the club's still moving back. And so there's several camera frames before the club starts to move back. And you can see here's where the club starts to move, and he's already turned his hips probably 20 to 25 degrees. And he's starting, then the upper body starts to turn also, and that's how he's moving the golf club. And you'll see now as he comes in, if you look at the frames, that the body rotation is clearly what's moving the golf club. There's no hand action there. If you look at every frame, you can see the hips, everything's moving, rotating. The hips and body are rotating all the way up and then through impact. And this is really a power move that you see, the transition, the club moving back again, and the hip, you can see the left leg moving towards the target there as he's starting to move in the opposite direction. So he's changing direction and getting the body to his impact position. That's what I teach you in my drills, is how to do this and how to make this move, of course, from the single plane setup and set up on your impact plane. That makes it a lot easier to work on this move, and I think anybody can improve their ball striking tremendously with these simple concepts. So if you're watching his feet, and I like to zoom in on the feet, you can see the right foot, and I see people trying to do things single plane where they're trying to keep the foot or the heel down. You can see clearly that Bryson, you'll see it from the down the line view, but you can see here that the heel is coming up well before impact. So it's up off the ground there, and you'll see it on the down the line analysis, which is going to come out in the next couple days. But the heel is coming up. If you watch his left foot, the pressure in the feet is amazing. You can see how the left foot is kind of spinning out. The right foot, you can see the pressure there. That's just created by the use of the ground forces to create the tremendous turn in his hips and body. Obviously, there's not a lot of people that can turn that much and that effectively, but if you just get half of that and half of the pressure into the ground that Bryson is getting, you're going to increase not only your distance, but you're going to hit the ball straight. And the setup on your impact plane, which I teach people to do, which is exactly what Bryson does, is going to make it a lot easier for you to hit the ball straight with more club head speed. So that's really important to understand, that we need to get the transition, we need to get the body to the impact position before the club gets there. And most people are throwing the club down with the hands and arms, and that's why they don't make it there. So another aspect that I think is really fascinating, you can see here Bryson's at setup, and he's set up for impact, which he talks about in some of the golf magazines. And he's been a subscriber here on my channel for quite a few years. I'm going to draw a line here. Let's make it a red one. And this is really interesting. This is Bryson's setup. This is his left arm. And if you look at the back of his wrist, you can see the back of his left hand, how flat it is with his arm. And I'm just going to go back, and we talked about the takeaway. You're going to see it's really interesting here. This doesn't really change here going back, and I don't see much of a change here of cupping or bowing of the wrist either. It's like it's just amazing that he just keeps it in position. You're going to see what's really, to me, amazing, and I haven't seen this with anybody to this extent, that it's just so perfect how it comes in. You're going to see this is almost impact. You're going to see that he's almost identically in the position where he started the swing. You're going to see this is virtually impact, and you can see the angle is just very, very, very slightly different. He's off maybe by a quarter of an inch, but the angle of that arm is virtually identical to where he set up. And it's just shocking to me. So the change that takes place, you can see how his hips and body are turned towards the target, and he's just returning, basically turned back and turned through. And so the other aspect is the amount of body turn that you see in Bryson's swing. So we're going to zoom in a little bit on his body, and you're going to see the turning back. He actually lifts the left heel a little bit here going back, which you see the heel coming up off the ground there. And that's something I have a lot of my customers with less flexibility, trying to get a little bit more turn in the backswing. As long as you're able to maintain your spine angle, I think it's a really good thing, especially if you have limited flexibility. So you can see here at the top, you can see the logo at the back of Bryson's shirt here. So you can see actually that. So you can see how much he's turned. And he's certainly turned probably 110 degrees. Obviously, again, I can't turn that much. I'm lucky if I make it to 90 degrees. Again, I don't want to restrict this turn at all. Restricting your backswing turn will also restrict the amount of distance that you can create. So we don't want to do that, but at the same time, we don't want to overdo it and swing farther than our flexibility allows, because that makes it difficult to get back to the ball. But because we're set up on our impact plane and have the other setup parameters that match closely to impact, we can make more of a swing at the ball and work on club head speed without sacrificing direction. So as he comes through, he's turned already towards the target somewhat. And you can see as he continues on, you're going to see there's, again, that same logo right there. So he's really turned. He's obviously turned a lot more here. His back now is towards where the ball was. So it's a really full turn all the way through the shot. The down the line version of this of Bryson's swing should be coming out in the next day or two. So again, members of my website who are working on their own version of the Setup for Impact Golf Swing can send in videos for my review. There is a complete learning system available on the website. Again, please subscribe here on YouTube. Click that bell to accept notifications and get notified as new videos come out. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.